How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, there's one of them videos. So stop everything you doing and bust out that good weed, because this shit is juicy, juicy, juicy. Ooh, juicy, juicy. And y'all gotta pay attention to the language in these two videos. I got this bonus ass, juicy ass video. All right, so I got all my shit. I got my grape juice on deck, plenty ice, plenty lemon. Bust out the popcorn, like I said, that good ass weed, and smoke it slow and sweet, juicy, juicy, juicy. Oh, I'm gonna have fun dragging you. Oh, I'm gonna be real petty, real slow, real methodical, because this shit is juicy. Can't you taste it? Real sweet. You know, like when you take one of them butter biscuits with them flakes and shit, and you put a bunch of butter and all kind of jam and shit on there, and the shit just dripping. This shit is dripping. So, Paul Manafort, one of Trump's close-ass partners. He don't look like that no more. He don't look like that no more. You already see the thumbnail, but he don't look like that no more. This what his ass look like. Oh, I'm taking joy. Oh, ain't this sweet? This real sweet, juicy. So, I got to refresh the royal family's memory. So, I'm gonna play this video. I can't read shit because it's so funny. It is so funny. So, to refresh your memory, I got a video that's almost like 3 minutes, because dude been going through it. And let's see, what do they have here? I can read a little bit. Paul Manafort plead not guilty Thursday in New York State Supreme Court to state fraud charges brought by the Manhattan District Attorney Office, the third criminal case he has faced in recent years, and one that may trigger a battle on double jeopardy grounds. Okay. He was basically the former chairman of President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign, and Manafort is charged by the state prosecutors with 16 felony counts, including residential mortgage fraud and falsifying business records. I could go on and on how greasy this motherfucker get down. So, let's open it all up.
Manafort, did you commit a crime?
Paul Manafort seemed destined to be heading to one of America's most feared lockups, Rikers Island Jail in New York, known for its brutal conditions and accusations of excessive force by guards. For a man used to million-dollar homes in the Hamptons in Florida, who wore python and ostrich skin jackets, and whose health is a concern with his lawyers, it would have been daunting. But tonight, Donald Trump's former campaign chairman is instead currently being housed at a federal prison in Manhattan, the Metropolitan Correctional Center. That's after Attorney General William Barr's deputy, Jeffrey Rosen, intervened. Rosen wrote to the Manhattan District Attorney, seeking his input on where Manafort should be held.
It is extraordinarily unusual and perhaps even entirely unprecedented for somebody as high-ranking as the Deputy Attorney General to get personally involved in the designation of one particular inmate.
Another former prosecutor says the risk here is the optic of special treatment for Manafort.
If I were Manafort's attorneys, I would read this as a very hopeful message that the president and, by extension, the AG may still be looking out for us. They haven't forgotten about us.
2 weeks ago, a source told CNN prosecutors in New York were trying to move Manafort from the federal prison where he was being held in Pennsylvania to New York, possibly Rikers. Now, Manhattan DA Cy Vance says he never took a position on whether Manafort should be at Rikers. This federal prison in New York where Manafort's being held now is the same facility where convicted drug cartel chief Joaquin El Chapo Guzman is being held. Experts say while MCC is not Rikers, it's no picnic for the 70-year-old Manafort.
It's a small jail, it's overcrowded, and it is cramped. And I don't know that they have a wing for protective custody individuals like Paul Manafort, because we don't have a lot of prisoners like Paul Manafort.
Manafort is serving a 7.5-year sentence after being convicted on federal charges of bank fraud, tax fraud, and lobbying violations. He's now awaiting trial on several New York state charges, including mortgage fraud. President Trump can't pardon Manafort on those state charges, but could pardon him for the federal conviction.
I don't even discuss it. The only one discussing it is you.
On the question of whether political optics played a role in where Paul Manafort is being jailed, a senior Justice Department official tells CNN the department decided to err on the side of caution and keep Manafort at that federal jail in New York simply because New York prosecutors didn't object to that proposal from Manafort's lawyers. The official said the reason the Justice Department checked with the New York prosecutors on this was because Manafort's lawyers, who were concerned about his health, told the Bureau of Prisons they were worried about him being moved to Rikers. So Wolf will see how long he stays at that Manhattan Correctional Facility.
All right. So let me
can't
shut
believe
this
it.
down. Let me shut this
And I won
down.
those sweepstakes, and I get to.
So let's go back over here. So let me get the royal family up to speed on a couple of things. So this crook here, he had stole everything for years, had bank accounts every which way, and you know, up in age, you know, got property, and then Trump said, you know, I'm running for president. Now, so he insert himself in Trump's affairs because he wanted that last hoorah. It's like robbing a bank, and you got X amount of time to rob the bank, and it was so easy. You went in and out within seconds, came out with millions, and you're like, shit, this was easy. Let me go back in there and get me another bag. And your ass get caught. Ain't it sweet? Ain't it juicy, my royal family? So then, I'm gonna continue to get you up to speed. So then, you know, when he was, you know, they said he was cooperating with the authorities and everything about the shit that went down, and he was playing with them. He was going back telling Trump every damn thing and stuff. And you know, they had said, you know, if you know, basically flip, tell the truth, we'll lighten your sentence. But he was playing. So they pulled that shit off the table. And he's basically banking on that Trump will pardon him. Well, see, they be doing that side shit. And yeah, he can pardon him on one level. But on the state charges, he is fucked up to the motherfucking core. And this the juicy ass video. Now you gotta pay real close attention to language. I'm talking about sweet. I'm loving this shit. Cause when I heard this video, I was screaming. I was like, oh yeah, the royal family gotta hear this. So this video, about 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes. Let's get into it.
New York, where we just saw former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort arrive at a courthouse in Manhattan. He will be arraigned on 16 state charges, including mortgage fraud, conspiracy, and falsifying business records. These charges were announced in March, just minutes after Manafort was sentenced to 7 years in his federal case stemming from the Mueller investigation. Manafort is expected to plead not guilty to these charges. Joining me now from New York, MSNBC legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Also with me, former U.S. attorney and MSNBC contributor Joyce Vance. Joyce, let me start with you. Your reaction to seeing Manafort walked into the courtroom that way?
I'm not surprised to see it at all. You know, this is an indictment that Cy Vance, the DA in Manhattan, should not have had to bring. In the normal course of business, this would have just been a to and done, in this case, federal indictment. But Vance had to bring these charges in an effort to fend off the threat of a pardon by the president. So now he's having his perp walk through the courthouse to make the point that the state is here and that they're here for a reason with these charges.
Danny Zabalos, just remind us how we got here. I mean, obviously Manafort has already been tried and sentenced once, but of course this looks considerably different. What are we seeing unfold here?
Many months ago, just as Paul Manafort was completing what he thought was the end of at least his federal prosecution woes, on that same day, the New York County District Attorney indicted him on this residential mortgage fraud set of crimes, which arise out of very similar transactions to those he was prosecuted for. So just as Paul Manafort thought everything was over, it began all over again, but this time in New York State Court. And you see him being walked in scrubs there because he's currently in custody. He's serving his federal sentence. And of course, there's no jury, so there's no prejudice that he's not wearing a suit or otherwise dressed appropriately for a jury. But this is something that Paul Manafort, on the day of his sentencing, probably expected would not be happening. And yet here we are, as Joyce perfectly puts it, a prosecution that was surely designed to stave off any potential pardon opportunity.
And Joyce, his lawyers are likely to argue that because we already saw this play out once before, legally it shouldn't be happening again, right?
That's right. They'll make a double jeopardy argument. Double jeopardy is this notion that you can't be tried for the same crime twice. But here we have two different sovereigns, the state of New York and the federal government, and the Supreme Court has reaffirmed just in the last couple of weeks this legal principle that says that you can be tried for similar crimes by two different sovereigns. In this case, though, it's two different sets of charges. The federal law, as Danny points out, those federal charges are under federal law. Here we've got state law violations related to residential mortgage fraud, and it seems very unlikely that any court would find that this violates double jeopardy.
And Danny, let's just underscore this point, which is that one of the differences between federal and state charges is that the president, in theory, can't pardon Paul Manafort if he is convicted by New York State. Now, I mean, we don't have a lot of indications he's prepared to do that on the federal charges either, but it seems notable to me.
Exactly right. I mean, the president has a very broad pardon power, arguably so broad he could theoretically pardon himself, although reasonable minds differ. But it has very few limitations. One of those is state crimes. The president cannot pardon state crimes, but something to think about from a policy perspective is this. If Paul Manafort is convicted on these New York State charges, and if he receives a sentence of somewhere on the order of a few years, something less than his remaining federal sentence, and if the court is okay with him serving it concurrently, it may be that the net effect of this New York prosecution is ultimately symbolic and pardon prevention if it adds 0 additional years onto Manafort's actual time served.
All right, Danny Zabalos, thank you very much. Joyce Vance, you are going to stick around.
Ain't that shit juicy? That shit real juicy. Did you hear what that woman said? She said, perk walk. That tickled me to my core. Because we always seeing our kings shackled down like a dirty, dirty dog. This dude ain't no damn good. Because the arena that he was in, can you imagine all the people that he robbed and hurt and lives that he ruined? Because, I mean, they stripping his ass down. And it's sweet and juicy. So, it looked like only Trump can only do so much for you. He can't really help you totally. Your ass on your own. And see, one thing that I have learned about Trump is he wants you to be loyal to him. Loyal for life. But when your ass get shackled down and in that hot seat, he ain't there for you at all. Not one damn bit. It is so many people that has been locked up being loyal to a fool. To a fool. This was supposed to happen. Karma is a bitch. And you never know when karma gonna show up. I love that shit. Perk walk. And now all of a sudden he old and he feeble. You know, he used to be, you know, Dapper Don. You don't look like that no more. You done bought you some hair, got on your little tailor-made suits. Where's your partner? Where he at? And they considering even locking you up in Rikers? Shit. You know, they said they don't know where they could house him. You know, you on your own. You an everyday citizen now. Oh yeah, I love this shit. Am I dragging him enough, my royal family? Ain't this shit juicy? Real juicy. All right, my royal family. I done drug his ass. So check this out, my royal family. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe. Like this shit is juicy, juicy, juicy.